Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission is one of our amazing author experts of a new book that we have coming out called Love Warriors, the Conscious Expert's Guide to Healing, Joy, and Manifestation. Katie, I'm so happy to see you today.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
You guys, Katie Shanley is a trauma-informed yoga teacher and holistic health coach who specializes in empowering women and men to feel safe within their own bodies and to build body-mind awareness, particularly following trauma and grief. And if you guys know anything about me, you know that's one of my favorite topics. So I'm particularly excited to talk to you about that, Katie. Thank you, first of all, for being willing to share your story and for your master teachings in this book. You guys, the book is full of awareness practices like Katie's that are going to transform your life. I get excited about this because they're powerful, powerful techniques. So would you first just share a little bit about your chapter with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see how many years ago it was now. Oh, we won't worry about that. But I am a survivor of domestic violence, and the story I share is kind of a telling of what happened, but from the perspective of the day after. Sitting with my best friend, who I've known for 30 years, sitting and telling her about it. So it's kind of an interesting way of telling the story, if I do say so myself. And I think it elicits a lot of emotion. Like I think that you might find little hairs on your arms, back of the neck, kind of raising up as you're reading it, both because you might relate to it and also because it's like intense and scary to hear about these stories. So I've been kind of on a mission since that experience to share vulnerably about it and to try to aid people in letting go of there's a stigma of domestic violence. I think we associate it with maybe certain socioeconomic groups or things of that nature. Like we have this attitude of like, well, that would never happen to me. And I 100% said that at some point in my life. And, it still did. And so trying to break that stigma and be like, it can happen to absolutely anyone. And it does. And one of the reasons it happened to me is because I lost a sense of my boundaries. And so this chapter is really about looking at boundaries from a different perspective as well. So it is, yes, it's telling the story and breaking the stigma, but it's also educating around what is a boundary and looking at it from a different perspective. So we think of boundaries, we think of setting up like a fence around us and, not letting certain things in. And my chapter is a practice of inviting stuff in that you do want, right? So doing more of what makes you happy. And that's actually how you set boundaries, because you start to not have room for the stuff that isn't serving you, for the stuff that isn't real, the relationships that might be harming or not serving, or both.
So I love this so much, this particular idea of setting boundaries by filling your energy and your life with the good stuff. It's like you create this force field from the things that light you up. And I just love this idea. I was hearing about this a little bit the other day from somebody who was teaching about when we have a mindset that we need to protect ourselves, guess what we attract more of? And so when you talk about boundaries this way, it's exactly gets me excited because it's that positive energy that's going to do this, not the heavy focus on these protection boundaries. You could have a little bit of that too, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about it from a perspective of insecurity, which a lot of times that's how we kind of lose our firm boundaries, is we are kind of living in this like insecure place, or I like to describe it as living in the back seat of your own life. Like you're looking for that fulfillment from the outer world, from people, from places, from things, instead of looking within and filling your life only with relationships and people that fill you up, right? That add to your cup rather than take away from it. And viewing every problem as an opportunity as well also helps with this more building this more positive mindset from a genuine place, not from like that toxic positivity place, which in turn also does not lead to great boundaries. So
I mean, I'm definitely a believer in every problem is an opportunity. The bigger the problems, the bigger opportunity for a bigger victory. But it's for me, it's like, okay, this feels bad, but what am I learning from it? And that's the thing, is like, if you can look at the opportunity in it, oh man, that's a ninja move of awareness, I think.
Absolutely. And in a way, I think it helps us to find deep gratitude for the trauma and grief that we experience in our life. And to know that that's okay. Like it's okay. It's great to be able to find that gratitude, because there's so much learning that happens in that loss and that upheaval of our lives. It'd be great if we could like avoid it, but that's not really how life works. But one way I think that we can sort of protect ourselves from particular types of trauma is by, learning about ourselves and learning about, what actually lifts us up and what are our boundaries and what's a real boundary and what is a way that we're actually lowering those boundaries by being like in this little turtle shell, or being, overly out there and in the same way, sort of like letting the outer world build you up, right? So like the ego leading you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the boundaries discussion alone, we could be here for a few hours. Like, it's important, right? So I want our listeners to understand that particular topic is super juicy and powerful. But okay, so when I created the idea of love warriors, I wanted part of that definition to be about showing up, knowing that our vulnerability is one of our strengths. And that was one of the ways I defined being a love warrior. Gosh, what you've already talked about in terms of boundary setting, I think is another piece of the definition. But Katie, why are you a love warrior?
Well, I think what you just said is very, true for me. I feel like my superpower is my vulnerability. In particular, after I was assaulted by my ex-husband, which, sorry, a big sneak preview of what my chapter is about a little bit, but it sounds intense to say, but it's also it's something I want to normalize talking about. And I think that's what makes me a love warrior, is I'm trying to normalize these conversations that we don't talk about. Like, we don't talk about death. We don't talk about these intense traumas. You say that, and so you say like, oh, I was assaulted by my ex-husband, and someone's like, and I'm trying to normalize it as much as possible, because in that vulnerability, there is so much strength and so much power, right? And really, if we don't talk about these difficult topics, we just go more into our shell. And so that's where it's like very much tied to those boundaries. If that had happened to me and I curled up, which I could have, right? I could have like curled up under the covers and never come out, and no one would have been like, oh yeah, why is she doing that? There was a good reason. But if I had done that, I never would have learned about myself. I never would have grown. I would have remained in the backseat of my own life.
Yeah, definitely amazing reasons that you are a love warrior. Especially am resonating with normalizing conversation about communication and conversation, just the words even, about some of these intense traumas. I think it's really important. And thanks for being a trailblazer of that. The more conversations we have like that, the more we can take a breath with it and not do that funky reaction. It's not like other people aren't going to still react that way, but we can verbalize it with confidence, and then our own energy can actually hold a healing space for whoever is in our presence to have the conversation. In other words, it starts with us.
Yeah.
And that's the, we're going to be the change for that. I think it's super important what you said about that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that?
Oh, I was just going to add that, I think that also another reaction that I battled with, and when I would talk to people, like they would kind of battle with, is not demonizing. Like, so when we are hurt by someone else, we're not to blame for it. It can be really hard to not blame ourselves, like, and think, oh, I knew better. And similarly, it can be hard to not sort of demonize this other person of like, they're bad. They did a bad thing. And so I guess what I want to say about that is just, I have this affirmation I use a lot, which is the answer is always love more. And it was really important in my healing journey, and I know it's important in everyone's healing journey, that to not only forgive yourself, but to also forgive the person that hurt you.
Yeah, that's big. That's big
Yeah.
potatoes stuff. Not easy. There's another one we could sit on for a few hours. Right?
Oh yeah.
I know.
Practice. It's ongoing. Like, it's not a light switch where you're just like, I forgive myself, I forgive this person. It's an ongoing practice.
Yes, lifelong sometimes.
Yeah.
But worth it, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that makes the authors of this book, all of them love warriors, is that they've taken responsibility for that journey and stepping up to talk about these kinds of things. I love all of you so much for being willing to do that with me. And because I think it takes that village of people doing it together. It feels like a very strong force, So listen, I know you're up to a lot of things aside from writing this beautiful chapter for Love Warriors. Tell us how people work with you. What are you up to in the world? What do you want to share today?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely up to a lot right now, outside of my several jobs that I'm working in my own business. I'm up leveling my education right now. So I am studying for my board certification in health and wellness coaching. And as such, I will need to acquire 50 coaching sessions within a pretty short time frame. So starting from the middle of December until about middle to end of January, I will be offering free or donation-based coaching sessions to meet my exam requirements to apply to take this exam. And I will post more about that on my website and my social media. But yeah, I'll be looking for folks who are interested in learning more about coaching, perhaps, and doing kind of a discovery call with me and seeing if it's something that they might want to pursue. And doing these like little mini 20-30 minute coaching sessions and around the holidays too. So it'll be like definitely helping with stress management, and just kind of helping folks to get through that challenging but joyous season.
Key.
Yeah.
Very key and super awesome. So you guys will eventually, whenever Katie has it, we can put the links down below for that in under this interview. So be looking for those. And her website is down there as well. So, there's going to be a lot of reasons why you want to connect with her. So, one of the biggest missions I have with every Brave Healer Productions book is to really help our readers live extraordinary lives. So no matter where you guys are on your journey, these books will help you answer that question. What else is possible? So, Katie, what's a simple stepping stone you'd like to share with our listeners today that will help them start that journey? What do you want them to know?
It's a little bit cheesy, I know, but taking it one day at a time. I think you can be future minded and have goals and have a lot of hope for the future, but also just take it one day at a time with like so much compassion and grace for your journey. I think that like that's such a key thing for me in sort of manifesting and and also this mindset of like field of dreams mindset of if you build it, they will come. Like if you have, and you do something to offer, put it out there, people will come, right? If you are putting yourself out there to the world with a mission and just being vulnerably you, it's going to resonate with someone. And whatever that means, like it doesn't have to mean that you're starting your own business and becoming a healer. It could simply mean like maybe you write in your journal, maybe you put it out there on a blog, or maybe you just have a really great conversation with a coach or with a friend, and notice how like once you start sharing that vulnerability, how everything starts to change.
I
Does
love
that make
that.
sense?
Yes, it does. I was just like, oh, more. Yes, I love that. That's so perfect. All right, you guys, I know that you probably heard something today that Katie said that made you curious. Maybe you have a question or you need some support. Please scroll on down to the show notes, and her website is there, and connect. You're going to be able to connect with her there. All of our authors are very generously there for you to help you take those next steps. So please go check out all of the amazing things that she is up to. Katie, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
Thank you, Laura. It's great to chat with you. And yes, please, if you're watching this and you want to reach out, just reach out. Even if it's just to say hi, I will say hi back.
So everybody, these aren't just books. They are a powerful community. And we wanted to offer that to you for the healing, joy, and manifesting that amazing life that you want, right? So you're invited to the Brave Healer Book Club, where you can rub elbows with authors and be inspired and get support. And I have that link below. And please join us for our book launch party. It's going to be January 6th in the new year. It's going to be on Zoom, and you'll find the invite on the Brave Healer Productions page. So that'll be below for you as well. We're going to be chatting with all of our Love Warriors authors who are going to share their wisdom and inspiration with you. And if you happen to be listening to this interview anywhere around that time, that means the book is ready and waiting for you on Amazon. And we can't wait to hear how you loved it. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.